I was always the nice guy growing up, through high school, in my marriage for sure. Everything I did was for my wife's approval, for other people's approval. It's something I've dealt with for many years. I'm working through it. I've been making a lot of progress. I'm here with my good friend and mentor, Al. He's helped me a lot, kind of identifying how I'm still in that pattern, how I can improve that. So I just want to talk to Al today and get an idea of, where you've come from, what kind of made you realize you were the nice guy, steps you took to overcome that, and then maybe what you see in the future and down the line. So,
absolutely, man. I'm happy to be here chatting with you, bro.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, I was raised in a very conservative family, but I was raised with a very strong mother, very sweet, loving mother, but very strong. She was a nurse, she's a professional, and I was just taught as a kid, keep mom happy. Because, mom was very, very sweet and loving until she wasn't.
When you say keep her happy, it was...
do what she wants and just
then
kind
you're
of...
a good boy.
You're a good boy. You're a very good boy, and she's going to reward that pleasing behavior. So I was always kind of doing things around the house for her, just, going the extra mile, keep mom happy. And when I got into high school and started partying, right, I would always sneak around, and I would go to my friend Bobby's house and, hey, Mom, we're going to have a nice little slumber party, and then we would go just party.
Sounds familiar.
But it was just creeping back in and never letting my mom know that I've been out.
If they find out.
I'd been out being crazy. And it was just, keep mom happy. And that pleasing behavior got into my dating life and into my relationships. And it's not pretty because it produces that nice guy syndrome that Robert Glover talks about in No More Mr. Nice Guy. Mm-hmm. And I was the poster child for the nice guy.
How did that kind of manifest in your relationships?
It was crazy because I would first of all, I was very hesitant to just approach women, right? And go up to the hot girl at the party because that might displease them. So I was very passive in dating, first of all. That's one way.
Did you, for instance, I always was taught you don't show girls that you like them.
Right.
I mean, you got to you're the nice, presentable guy. You're their friend first.
Yeah. If you remember in the movie Crazy Stupid Love.
I just watched that the other day.
It's a great movie, man. And where what's his name? Ryan Gosling is trying to help Steve Carell, hit on women at the bar, and he says, he hits on this really hot girl, and then he says, I'm going to go get drinks. And he tells Steve Carell, hey, you sit here and keep her company. And he goes, and let me know if he gets handsy. He says that to the hot girl. And he walks off. And Steve Carell goes, don't worry, I wouldn't touch you if my life depended on it. And she just looks at him like, he thinks he's being a super nice, respectful guy. Yeah. And he's being a complete chode, and it really turns her off, and it's not pretty. So I was kind of that guy. I'm so beyond sexuality, and I would never, hit on you because that would just be that's something that sleazy douchebag guys do,
Yeah, I can never show my intentions.
No. So I was just I would just wait until a girl who was not as hot showed interest in me. And she would kind of flirt with me. And there's one. Now that's
she's
safe.
Doing the work for me.
She has to do the work. She has to show interest, show me a green light, and then I would kind of feel, okay, it's okay to kind of ease in on this one. But she'd be like waving these green lights or waving these flags at me, but it wasn't the hottest girl at the party.
You're being chosen. You're not choosing
She had
her.
to choose me, and I thought my job was just to be the cool, passive guy, and then she would show interest, and then I would take her out, but she would be, again, maybe a 6. And I would just have a girlfriend, or maybe a 6.5, but it wasn't like the 8, 9, 10 that we all, the girl that you're really attracted to.
Not the type of girl that you envision.
Your personal 10.
Yeah, when you're envisioning dating a girl, you're thinking.
Yeah, whatever your personal 10 is, your personal really hot girl. It varies with guys, but I would see the girl I was really interested in over there.
It sounds like you were probably making compromises. Like, she's not necessarily my type, but she is showing interest in me.
She's showing interest, and this, let's just see where this goes. And then once I started dating her, she would just lock onto me, and I would immediately fall into this overcommitted frame. I would call her every day. I would just feel like, I've got to manage her feelings. What if I don't call today? She'll feel bad, so I would just have to call her out of guilt, And then
I can't go hang out with my friends because she'll get
no.
super jealous.
And I would ask permission from her. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go hang with my friends. Are you okay tonight? Oh yeah, honey. But it was just always walking on eggshells and always pleasing her. And then after like 3 or 4 months, I would suddenly just wake up one day and feel nothing for this girl. I would just be like, oh man, I gotta call her today. Ah, shit, And I would.
So when that happens, do you break up with her, or do you just keep going through with it?
Well, see, what I would do is I would stay in, right? Because I'd heard, I was raised by all the good Christians, and they would say, love is not a feeling. Love is a choice. Love is work. I heard all that from the pulpit. I heard it from counsels. Love is, marriage and relationships are hard work.
Yeah, and everything it takes to make it work.
And I would wake up and go, I'm not feeling it for this girl. And I'd go, but wait a minute. Love is not a feeling. Love is a choice. I have to choose. And I would call her. And then she would act all happy, and I would feel this little glow of satisfaction that I made her happy again. I pleased the woman again. And I would think, maybe I do love this girl because look how happy she is. It's always about how she felt. Mm-hmm. And my feelings were actually looped in with her feelings, so I didn't even know how I felt about her. I just felt good that she liked me, and I was making her like me even more. Well, you can imagine the train wreck that was leading to.
Yes, so I was in the same situation, but rather than actually maybe like ending it, I kind of just stayed committed with it. Yeah. Maybe it took longer than a few months, but it was the same pattern. Like, I know I'm not happy, but she showed interest in me.
Right.
I make her happy. We got married, so then at that point you're already stuck together. So I mean, it sounds like you were able to identify it before you got married. Yeah, where you're very committed, and then you have to do whatever it takes
to get out, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I would be in for, again, 3, 4, sometimes 6 months, maybe even up to a year. And then I just couldn't take it anymore. I was just bored out of my mind with this girl,
Okay.
And I could just see how much she was falling in love with me, and then I would finally just say, enough's enough, I got to break up. And then there would be heartbreak and tears and, catastrophe, and she'd be banging on my door in the middle of the night. Now, I mean, we've all probably had relationships where we had to be the bad guy and break up, right? But I remember there was just this pattern where I would get stuck in relationships. And I don't think at any time during college or even after, I don't think I was ever dumped. I would always break up with the girl first because it wasn't a relationship I was really, really, really interested in to begin with.
For those relationships, were they always the one choosing you? And you were like the nice, I'm just happy for some validation.
Yep. And then, and if you're a religious person, you think maybe God's putting you together. Mm-hmm. You can think of the guiding hand of fate and all this kind of. And again, if you've grown up in a codependent or people-pleasing mode, and I'm sure some of your listeners know what codependency is, where you're rescuing other people, taking care of other people's feelings, putting yourself last, and you're given so much validation for that it really just twists up your mind because you don't even know what you feel half the time.
Agreed. Yeah, when you were describing like how you would make sure you called her every day, same thing with me. Like, I didn't know it was like a nice guy tendency. I thought I was just being a good boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, call her every day. I don't really want to. She would get upset if I would go out with my friends. Like, I went to a work party one time and she got upset. It's like, well, it's a work event.
Right.
But I just, okay, you're right. I don't want to make you feel bad.
Right.
Very much.
Right. And so again, it takes time for you to sort through all the fake emotion that you're being pumped full of, which is your own bad programming. You think that's what being in a relationship is supposed to feel like. It's supposed to feel like me doing the dutiful thing, right? Being the good Boy Scout.
Happy girlfriend, happy life.
Happy wife, happy life, happy girlfriend, happy life. And so that weird, twisted, low-grade happiness is what you think is love is. And then every now and then, I would actually meet a really hot girl. and she would flirt with me, and I could tell this girl's interested, and you feel the butterfly and your heart skips a beat. And now that's the girl I would go after. She's intelligent, she's witty, she's very attractive. She's not just hot, but she's actually very interesting, funny, witty, interesting girl. And I would feel just completely trapped, in my little codependent dating relationship.
Trapped with the girl that you were with.
That I was with, that I was with. So I was not going after what I really wanted as a man.
Did that help you realize you weren't going for what you wanted?
Yeah, I just started seeing.
What am I doing with her?
I started seeing this pattern and I would replay the tape and go, you know what? Yeah, I didn't even really hit on that girl. She hit on me at that party. She hit on me at the Bible study or whatever. She came up to me and said, "Hi, my name is Jennifer." And I remember thinking, at the time, it's nice to be shown attention, right? Yeah. But it wasn't what I was really going after, And so I just didn't know how to go for what I wanted as a man. And it took a few of those dysfunctional relationships, right, before I started realizing, man, you've got to go for what you want. Okay. But it takes a while to even drill down and know what you want.
Was there a specific turning point that you recall where you're like, okay, enough's enough.
Yeah.
There's something that's not right with these women.
As these patterns went on through college and graduate school, and I didn't get married because I was in grad school. I was doing my PhD. Okay. And people always ask me, why didn't you get married, Al? And I said, well, I was doing a doctorate, and it just was too much to go and get married, right? All right. But I had a couple of different long-term relationships. But I noticed that the kinds of women that would come into my life were often quite dysfunctional, right? And very broken and have a lot of trauma in their lives and have a lot of their own issues going on.
What did was that where some of that codependency came in?
Absolutely. You're a rescuer. You're the white knight, man. You're the helper.
And rescuer, like I remember said that.
Yeah, the rescuer. And I dated this one really wonderful girl that I had met through some common friends in graduate school. She was an opera singer, really beautiful, talented woman. But she, as many artistic people, she had some major mood swings, and she was on some meds, right? And she was a little tormented, right? And she would come over to my place and bang on my door. I'd be up, studying or writing my dissertation, and she would just say, "Can I just come in and soak up your calm and your peacefulness?" And I'm just feeling so triggered right now, and I was just like, "Yes." And I would just think, "Oh, I'm good for her. I'm good for her.
She sees the value in me.
She needs me. Yeah. I'm just good for her." And I would just think of myself as sort of adding this healing to her life. And then finally I was dating a girl who had, years later, our paths diverged because she went off to, sing and do wonderful things in the world, and I was doing my doctorate. So we didn't work out. It was actually a very amicable breakup. But I kept drawing women in my life who had more and more deeper and deeper problems. So
you felt like there was an attraction. You're attracting these.
I was attracting girls with addiction issues and all kinds of other depression issues, manic depression, deeper trauma issues. And I was talking to a good friend of mine who, this is a woman who I just known for years as a good friend, and she was very interested in psychology and stuff like that. And I was talking about breaking up with this woman. And I said, yeah, she's just got so many problems, and she has addiction problems, and she has a lot of rage at her mother and her family. And I said, yeah, I just don't know if this is going to work out. It's kind of exhausting me. And I said, but I'm just good for her. I know I'm just good for her. And this friend of mine just screamed into the phone, "Ow, you're codependent!"
And did it register, or you just?
Well, we had talked about codependency, and she was recovering from codependency.
Okay.
So she was going through her stuff, and I was like, oh yeah. So I was kind of like helping her with her codependency. Yep. And then she's like, dude, you are so codependent. And it was definitely like a
that a
moment.
wake-up call for you?
Yeah, I just went, holy shit.
Did that,
you're right.
After you heard that, do you break up with her? Do you still stay with her and think you can improve it?
No, I knew I had to get out.
Okay. Yeah, I had those red flags too, but like I said, I kind of ignored them, I would say.
No, yeah, I had been ignoring them for a while. But again, because you think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I'm saving her. What would she do without me?
I'm saving her. I'm sacrificing to help her. And if you've been raised, again, and many religions have this element, not just Christianity, of doing the right thing, doing what the tribe wants, sacrificing your own good for the good of the tribe, for the good of whatever that is, the body of Christ, or if you're a Buddhist, it's the good of the Sangha, the good of the Buddhist community. You're always thinking of the tribe first. And there's a truth in that, right? There's a truth in that. And, you do need people in community. But then there's a twisted falsehood in that, like you're just supposed to be a doormat.
Mm-hmm.
And I so finally kind of said, okay, wait, this has gone too far, And then I did some 12-step work to help get over that. And if people find that helpful, Codependence Anonymous was helpful to me.
Okay.
I went through that program where you just learn that, putting other people before yourself can have a dark side. There's a truth in it, and there's a big falsehood in it. And you have to figure out. It comes back to the old spiel they do at the beginning of a flight, where the flight attendant comes out and they do the little demo, and they say if the oxygen masks drop down, right?
Mm-hmm.
They always say, put your own mask on first.
Gotta save yourself first
before you help another person. Because if you're fooling around trying to put the mask on your child, but then you black out,
mm-hmm.
then you're both not going to make it. But if you put your mask on first, you take care of yourself first, then you help your kid with the mask.
Yeah, then you can help others.
Then you can help others.
You're no use to anybody if you can't.
Exactly.
So what made you want to do the 12 steps? Was that after that relationship you realized like I'm just attracting the same things over and over, or was this breakup especially hard that you had to get?
It was a bad breakup because I had been such a rescuer, white knight, and that's a term, white knight syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
Just being the rescuer, the shining armor, the prince, on a white horse. And so it was a bad breakup. And then, but then my friend who had yelled at me on the phone was also doing Codependence Anonymous, and so she helped me kind of get into a program.
So she was able to recognize kind of immediately that...
She knew that I was showing all the signs of codependence, and she was doing her own program out in California, I think, but she said, hey, you need to check this out. So I dug around and found a good program in this city, in Charlotte. So it was good, and it was helpful for a few years. I really don't do much anymore with that group, but it was helpful for where I needed to be. Okay. Learning to take care of my own needs first.
Put you on a new path.
Yeah, put me on a new path, and just healthier patterns, and then you can sort of see what we're saying, that yes, helping others is great as long as
it's coming from a place of wanting to help and not a place of I need to help so that you validate me, that I'm good.
Yeah.
I know I still have tendencies to be the nice guy. I like to still kind of put others before myself sometimes. Do you still struggle with that now to this day after everything? Or are you very good at identifying that, okay, I'm in this pattern again?
I think it's still been an issue in some of the dating I've been doing, where you'll do what's called rapport seeking, meaning that the girl, you're talking with the girl, and she says, I don't know, I like apples. And you go, oh yeah, me too. And so that's another behavior, kind of a pleasing behavior. Yeah. Now I've broken myself of it pretty well in the last few years, but I remember still having those patterns even when I was in full recovery. I would still...
okay, but now you kind of recognize when you're doing it rather than just autopilot.
Yeah, she says, I like apples. I go, oh, I don't like apples. I don't know. Or, you can even tease a girl, what's wrong with you? Apples are boring, you know?
For me, if someone said they like country music,
yeah,
I don't like country music, but I would have been like, oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, I would just agree with them. I wouldn't have my own...
And you would try to find one, so yeah, I like some country.
Yeah.
She says, I love country music. Yeah, I can deal with some country. And where's this is...
if I'm being honest, they'd be like, no, I don't
country music,
like
are you
country.
joking? Yeah. Oh, I hate that shit. And what's funny with dating is that when you say that to a woman, it actually makes her more attracted. When you disagree with her about something, it's much more authentic. And she says, oh, this guy he's not kissing my ass.
Yeah,
okay?
He's got his own
likes and dislikes. Yeah, and it's a much more authentic way to. And then when she says, if you've been authentic, and then she says, now I do love meditation, and you say, wow, now that's something I love, and you say, I meditate every day or something like that. Now in her mind, oh, this is really authentic because this guy
actually something
he said he disagreed with me, and then when I finally do agree with her on something, oh wow, that really doesn't
Yeah,
mean
so it gives her
something.
like a trust thing, like, oh, he doesn't agree with me on everything, so
Right.
that the things he does agree with me, he must actually truly believe.
Yeah, if he's agreeing with me on everything, he's just, again, he's got an agenda. That's the nice guy agenda. And that's why many women don't like nice guys in that narrow sense of the word nice.
Yeah.
Right?
In No More Mr. Nice Guy, he basically calls it, you're like lying to the girl because you're just pretending these things. It's not true. She can kind of see through it, can kind of feel it.
Yeah. Well, there's a saying, in the manosphere, the nice guy ultimately is not nice at all. He's not
He's nice when he gets what he wants.
He's a manipulator.
Yeah, he's manipulating.
Yeah, and he's trying to get something, and the girl can smell it, usually miles away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So learning to look for my own needs and put my own needs first has been a big help in healthier dating relationships.
Okay, so that's helped your relationships going forward, and
absolutely has.
Where do you kind of see yourself, I guess, in the future with everything? Are you still working on this consistently? You know what kind of women you want now. You're attracting them.
Yeah, I'm much more authentic on dates, and I'm it definitely builds a stronger and more authentic frame, whether it works out or not.
Do you feel like you can connect better with the girl too because you're actually being your true self?
You're connecting better with the girl. You have, stronger boundaries, and if things don't work out, the times something hasn't worked out, it's a more even the breakup is amicable because you've been authentic with her from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you've just been telling her, oh no, I think this is true love, and you just kind of pleasing her all the time.
Yeah, just ignore the things you're actually
ignoring
upset about.
The things I'm concerned about, and this is kind of a red flag, and I'm not sure about that, but let's try to, easing into the relationship.
I know for me it built up a lot of resentment too. Like, I'm doing things to please you. You're not even appreciative of what I've done for you.
Yeah.
You say you can't live without me. I'm the white knight. I'm helping you, but then it's not good enough. But it was very manipulative. Like, I was specifically doing that for the end result of you being appreciative and.
Yeah. Well, that's most codependency and most addictions. They say, like an Alcoholics Anonymous or Codependence Anonymous or all the other ones, Sexaholics Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous. Most of these addictions are formed out of a lot of resentment. That resentment is a common emotion for people who are in those unhealthy relationships because you're not getting your needs met. You're having to resort to your addiction, right? And there's just an underlying, they call it resentment is frozen anger, that you're not, because it's never safe to just get angry and say what you need to say. It's just, oh, no, I'm fine.
Yep, I'm fine.
Yep, oh boy.
What's wrong? Nothing, I'm fine. And I would just be quiet, like, oh, I'm fine.
Yeah. One of the earliest memories I have of this kind of behavior, I've thought a lot about this. In fourth grade, I was at a public school, and there was a very good teacher in one of the classes that I was in. He was a guy, and it was rare in those days to have a male teacher. Mm-hmm. This guy was a really cool man. He was really witty, and all the students loved him. He would crack these sarcastic jokes. Everyone would crack up. He was a very, very compelling person. But he was also, he was actually a religious guy, and he was very open about his religion. And he would say to us, I want you to look at that sign on the wall over there, and I want you to remember that's the most important word you'll ever see, the most important word in this class. And up on the wall, there was a giant poster that just had the word others. So he said, remember, others. That's the most important thing. Always think of others first. And I remember being probably about 10 years old, and I just went, wow, that's so deep. I am always going to put others first. Yeah. I'm going to be a good boy.
Then I'll be accepted.
I'm going to be selfless.
I'll be the good boy, yep.
I'm going to be selfless. I'm going to be unselfish, putting others first. Oh no, you go first. Oh no, please you. And look at these selfish kids elbowing their way to the front of the line and trying to get the best whatever, the best snacks or the best book, and I'm just, oh no, I'll be last.
Yeah, I'll be last. That's fine.
And I'm just,
I don't need a spot.
I just felt like this little saint, just going around. No, I'm just just, never mind me, And I remember I remember thinking how noble that was, And I've looked back at that over the years and gone, how twisted, I mean,
Yeah, it's crazy how that one idea just directed your whole life.
Well, it was probably filtered through some unhealthy
Yeah, that with your mother,
family
but I mean, you hear
things,
that.
right? And you can see the truth in it. You can see that, yes, you're a person in society. You must be aware of others. You must be aware that you're not a narcissist. It's like you have narcissism at one extreme, and you have whatever that is at the other extreme. Just complete selflessness, a complete collapse of your own identity into just the tribal, I'm just nobody. And so where's that healthy balance, taking care of yourself, being considerate and kind to others, helping others. But when he told us that's the most important word, it's not. Okay.
Was your dad also a nice guy too? Like, did you have an influence that could teach you any other way?
Yeah, my dad was like the strong, silent type, so very much like Gregory Peck, if you ever saw the movie To Kill a Mockingbird. Tall, 6 foot, 3 or 4, dark hair, looks like Rock Hudson, James Bond. Very, very strong looking guy, but very silent, and just sort of I think he just kept my mom happy too.
Okay.
But he was not a very strong presence.
He was not one to teach you
Yeah.
to stand up for yourself.
Not really. It's just he was very stoic. That's another good term. Just very non-emotional and just quiet. Let my mom can handle the boys,
Yep.
And he would just be.
Just don't upset your mother.
He would just be with a newspaper, and sitting and watching TV, and so I think he just thought that's how it's supposed to work. He's just a '50s male, and they just thought, hey, I made money, I provided for the family.
I've come home, I'm gonna relax.
Yeah, my work's done here. I've put food on the table. You guys work all this shit out yourselves, So he wasn't really like, hey, come here, I got to tell you the story about this, and I got to tell you about how to deal with that, and watch out for this. Every now and then he would give me kind of a, little saying to live by, but it was not. It was definitely my mom was the one.
She's hands-on.
Hands-on, running things, and yeah. So it's just the way their dynamic was, and a lot of guys have this dynamic.
Yeah, my parents were the same way.
Yeah,
Dad would just come home, watch TV.
Yeah.
Obey your mother. Didn't really teach us any life lessons.
Yeah,
it was just
very
getting
common.
by.
Very, very common. So, again, if you've been told, or the messages that have been communicated to you through your family life are keep mom happy, especially keep women happy, keep the females happy, right? That pleasing behavior just gets ground into you, drilled into you. And then when they tell you in 4th grade, always think of others first, it just confirms every message you've ever been told.
Yeah.
Now
it's kind of like, oh, that makes sense. I've been told this my whole life, and
Right.
now my teacher, who I admire, is telling me too.
Yeah. And again, if you're raised in a religious household, which I wasn't, this is nothing against authentic religion. That religion is beautiful, and there are many good traditions that are healthy and helping people, But in the twisted version, right, all you can see is kind of Jesus on the cross suffering, and you're told that's the way you want to live your life. Take up your cross, and these Christian sayings that can have a profound meaning if it means get over your ego, right? And don't be a narcissist. And they call it like ego death now when you read about psychedelics, right? And people going through what's something called ego death, where my ego becomes transparent and my narcissism, I let it go. Those are some healthy impulses. But the idea that you need to eradicate your identity and just be programmed by your environment, that's kind of messed up, And so there's an old saying, every error has a grain of truth in it. So if you're in some bizarre, twisted error, the best thing you can do is find the grain of truth that got you there and go, I see where I went off the track. I see where that off ramp, and now I'm over here in the wilderness, but
you can recognize where it's...
So you can see where it deviated and go back and go, okay, let's talk about the healthy version of that.
Yeah, if I had done this, I could go this way, so now I identify a new path that I can start going down.
I could take care of others, but I need to take care of myself first. Yeah. And so here's the correct version of what that was versus this twisted martyr, version where you're just always finishing last and thinking that somehow you know, you're gonna either win the prize in this life or the next. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, I can come last. I mean, I'm fine that way.
I'm fine that, and then then you get a few Bible verses. The first shall be last, the last shall be first.
I was always I'm fine if I'm last, but then I'm resenting everybody who's ahead of me. Like,
And
why is he getting all these girls? He's
Right.
I'm being the nice, respectable one. I'm
Yeah.
being very quiet and giving, and he's just
Yeah.
being funny and outrageous, but he's getting all the attention.
Yeah, and if you go far enough down the rabbit hole, you might end up believing, well, again, you'll be rewarded in heaven, my son. And then,
Someone will like you just for your personality one day.
yeah.
Just be yourself.
Oh man, I
Just be
hate that so
yourself,
much.
yeah.
Be yourself. Just keep doing whatever
She's out there for you.
unproductive. Yeah, be your lame self, and someone will like you for your lameness.
Yeah.
Not gonna happen, or if it does happen,
Yeah,
it'll
they
be
don't
the
say
wrong
be
girl.
the better version of yourself. They just
Yeah.
give you that little, just be yourself now, but never improve. And
Be
the nice guy that people
Yeah.
take advantage of.
Be your mediocre self. Be the most middle of the road,
Yeah.
gray version.
Which
of
I think would
yourself.
work if you want girls to choose you, and then you're in that codependency because you're
Right.
just kind of like, yeah,
Exactly.
this is what I deserve. I haven't done anything to improve myself, so
Yeah.
why would I get my 9 or 10?
But there is some part of you, and this is where, again, I can say that back to my parents, I know that they loved each other and still do. And so, there's a genuine thing there too. And they had a very, like a lot of magic when you look at them as a kid. They were very loving to each other.
Okay.
So I kind of knew I knew what it looked like when people were in love, And I said, okay, I'm not feeling that.
Okay.
And that's why I would kind of wake up and my mom and dad, like my dad's grabbing my mom's ass, and stuff. And they're still in love after 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
So did that help you realize at that 6-month mark, like this is not what I envisioned?
This is not what I grew up. I grew up with people who were in love.
Okay.
And I'm like, that ain't this,
So I wonder if that's where maybe, because I had the opposite. My parents never showed any affection to each other. They very much didn't even seem like they liked each other. So I think maybe I thought relationships was just, well, that's what a relationship is. You just stick with it.
That's interesting. Well, and that would explain, like, maybe why, see, I never got married and you did, because I just didn't have that. Yeah. I didn't have that feeling. I knew that something was off, even though I kept repeating the same sick, cycle.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to repeat any cycles. I just took the first girl who liked me.
So it's a mixed bag. I had a mixed bag. I had some very dysfunctional things in my family. Then I had some good things. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of living out the bad stuff, and then the good stuff would kind of wake me up. So It was interesting. That's kind of why I kept cycling,
Sure.
But it definitely took some work to break those bad cycles. So, I'm grateful to my family ultimately.
Okay.
But there were some issues that we had to power through.
And now you're a better man for it, and
Exactly.
now you know what you want.
Exactly.
I think we can leave it there. I appreciate everything, Al.
Sure, man.
Is there anything you want to add? Well, what was the name of the 12-step thing again? I'll link that in the description. Anyone has, if that's of interest to anybody?
Yeah, Codependence Anonymous is very good. A 12-step program for anybody who is struggling with those people-pleasing behaviors. I would also mention, as I did earlier, No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover. Fantastic book. He also has some very good online programs that will help break some of this nice guy behavior and these tendencies, and really show you where they came from to begin with, and then how you can break those patterns now.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time and everything. I related to almost everything you said. It's interesting how you grow up, you just think you're just a nice kid, you don't recognize these patterns, and then you talk to other people and it's the exact same code. Like, how did I not realize this? I wish I had maybe somebody to go over. Like, I didn't have YouTube growing up. I couldn't have watched anything.
No, you have to have someone. Someone has to wake you up out of the stuff.
Yeah,
and so
it seems very logical.
So I think you're doing some good work to help wake guys up.
Thanks,
sure.
sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there, and we'll see you next time.